Hi everyone, it's me. Today, we're going to look at some stories from a collection called Humans, the only species crazy enough to tame them. It's a great collection of best HFY stories. In this series, HFY stands for humans. Fuck yeah. It is an homage to a popular website with the same name that showcases stories where humans are the main protagonist species in science fiction. These are not the normal run-of-the-mill underdog human stories. These are more like space opera type stories where humans take center stage. So let's get started. The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of my favorite stories in the book. In fact, I loved it so much, I read it twice in a row. It starts with a man named Shen, who makes his living salvaging wrecked spaceships on an asteroid. He has scavenged a lot of ships, but none were more important than the one he's about to find. A ship bearing the crest of the galactic emperor himself, Shen had never seen so much wealth in one place before. He quickly realized there was a problem. There was no way out of the ship without being detected by its defenses. And if they found him, they would torture him to death just to use him as an example. But Shen had discovered a secret passage aboard the ship, and he managed to escape undetected. Unfortunately, his luck wouldn't last long because the Emperor himself had been alerted to a stowaway, and he wanted to meet with this intruder. When Shen finally got to meet the Emperor, he learned why. The Emperor was dying, and he believed Shen could save him. The only thing was, it was a little beyond his pay grade. You see, the Emperor needed his soul polished. Now, what does that mean? Well, souls can become dull when they're forced to reside in mortal bodies. If left unchecked, they can become so dull, they can literally kill you. The job of polishing a soul isn't something anyone can do. It requires a special kind of person, someone with an insane amount of willpower and control over their emotions. Because if even a single flicker of emotion shows through during the process, the soul will burn away, killing the host. And who do you think was crazy enough to take on such a task? That's right, a human. And not just any human, mind you, but a common salvage worker. To make things even worse, the Emperor hadn't exactly been honest about the nature of the job. In truth, there was no way for anyone to polish his soul without consuming it. So the real question was, how far was Shen willing to go? For his own personal gain? This story is a really fun read. It's fast-paced and filled with interesting characters. And while it's not really a battle story, it's still exciting. And the ending is just brilliant. Into the Light by Troy Denning. This is another one of my favorites in the book. It's a bit different from the others because it focuses on the culture shock element, rather than an actual conflict between humans and another alien species. It follows a group of humans who have finally made contact with an alien species known as the Valkyr. After years of research, scientists have prepared the crew of a generation ship for first contact. They know a lot about the Valeria. Their society is highly advanced, and they are telepathic. In fact, they don't even have a spoken language. They communicate through telepathy. The goal of the mission was simple: establish peaceful relations. This should have been easy since the humans were trained to suppress their thoughts. But it wasn't quite as easy as they thought. You see, it wasn't just the telepaths on the receiving end of the communication. The human crew picked up on the Valkyries' thoughts as well. And what they heard shocked them. The Valkyries didn't want peace. They wanted war. To them, humans were nothing more than animals, creatures that needed to be taught a lesson. And that lesson was going to be delivered by force. Now, the humans had known this might happen, but they never expected it to come so soon. They tried to communicate peacefully, but the Valyrians attacked. And the reason for the attack was horrifying. According to the Valkyries, the humans were disturbing their planet by existing on it. They demanded the humans leave immediately or face annihilation. But the humans couldn't just abandon their post. They had come too far to turn back now. So they fought. This was a losing battle from the start. The Valkyries were too powerful. Their technology was too advanced. And most importantly, they were telepathic. The humans weren't fighting against an army. They were fighting against a hive mind. It seemed like the humans were doomed. But then something unexpected happened. As the battle reached its climax, the humans began to tap into the Valerians' own minds. They used their enemies' telepathy against them, overwhelming their consciousness with images of death and destruction. The Valerians were taken aback by this, and it gave the humans the opening they needed to win the war. I'm not sure what it was about this story that I liked so much. Maybe it was the originality, or maybe it was just the sheer brutality of it. Either way, it's definitely worth a read. Human Resources by Brad R. Torgerson. This is probably the darkest story in the book, but it's also one of the funniest. It follows a group of humans who crash land on an alien planet. Their ship is destroyed, and they are now stranded. But they are not alone. The planet is inhabited by a race of lizard people. Now, these lizard people aren't your typical aliens. They're incredibly intelligent, and they have a highly advanced civilization. They're also very xenophobic. As soon as they saw the humans, they decided they were a threat to their way of life, and they started planning their extermination. But the humans weren't just going to sit back and let themselves be killed. They fought back, and what followed was one of the most lopsided battles in history. The humans were vastly outnumbered, but they didn't care. They fought with everything they had, and they won. But it wasn't just a physical battle. It was also a mental one. The lizard people couldn't believe what they were seeing. Humans were supposed to be weak and helpless. So why were they putting up such a good fight? It didn't make sense to them. And that gave the humans the advantage they needed to win. The story ends with the humans taking over the lizard people's planet and enslaving them. Yes, this is a dark story, but it's also hilarious. The author does a great job of making the lizard people seem like real people, and you can't help but root for the humans. A Human Weapon by Miles Simmons. This story follows a young human woman who's being held captive by a race of aliens. The aliens are experimenting on her, trying to figure out what makes humans tick. They've already killed several humans, and they're not about to stop now. But the woman is not giving up. She knows that she's the key to ending the war between the two species. She just needs to find a way to convince the aliens that she is worth saving. Along the way, she learns a lot about herself and what it means to be human. And let me tell you, this is one badass human. Not only is she intelligent and resourceful, but she is also incredibly brave. She doesn't let the aliens break her, and she eventually finds a way to escape. I'll admit that I was skeptical about this one. The premise sounded a bit cliché, but I was wrong. This is a fantastic story with a great message. It's well written, and the characters are believable. Plus, it's just plain fun to read. Overall, this is a great collection of stories. If you enjoy space operas where humans are the main protagonists, then I highly recommend checking it out. Let me know in the comments which story was your favorite.